Hi, this is Mr. Money and welcome to the Money Goal Podcast Show, where we're going to bring you practical tips about money and how to achieve those goals in a fun way. Hi, welcome everyone in the studio today. So today in the studio we have a special guest, that is Sue Lim, or you guys can call her Sue.
Hello, how are you?
Hi,
Thanks
I'm
for having
good.
me.
Yeah. So Lim, firstly, you look very young. Is that all the effects of Pilates?
I wish I was that young, but unfortunately, no. I'm a 90s kid, so I don't want to really say how old. But yeah, I was born in the 1980s.
So maybe I'll just reveal to the audience just a very quick fun fact that I learned about her. Right? She actually has an eldest kid that's 18 years old, and it was shock of my life, right? Because
how old do you think I look?
Wow, for me, you look probably even slightly younger than me.
Oh, not that old then. In your 20s, in my 20s.
My wife always tell me that I need to take care of my face, put more sunblock and stuff like that.
all wives, I think. Yeah.
No. Nonetheless, today we are here to talk about money, right? So the first question I would like to ask you is this. You are actually not from Malaysia, right?
Yeah, I'm from San Francisco, California.
So what brought you to Malaysia?
My husband had work here, so I followed him. He liked it here, and then we just ended up staying here. And I work at Flow Studio, and that's the long story short.
So Malaysia versus California, which is better?
Malaysia. Duh.
Yay! All right. So let's talk a little bit about the perspective on money. I understand that in every different country, there's a different perspective on handling money and education about money. Do you see any big difference in terms of how Malaysians look at money versus back in America?
Well, I think because I'm from an Asian culture, I think I relate to Malaysia a lot more because, I grew up with the mindset of work hard, save, work hard, save. I don't know if Malaysians have that.
Yeah, standard. I think it runs in the Asian blood.
Yeah. That's why, to say that I picked up an American way of, thinking is not really correct because my parents raised me where I work hard and I save. I work hard and I save, and it goes on and on like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you came, put it this way, right? For yourself, what was your relationship with money like when you were growing up? Like, did you grow up in an environment where your parents were more disciplined about money, or they were more like
my parents
open about money, having conversation? How was it like growing up, learning about money?
I wouldn't say they were quite frugal. I mean, it's not that they didn't have the money. They came from first generation. They came from a very poor background, and they just had the idea of just saving. Don't spend it. Save. Don't buy anything you don't need. And I always grew up like that. As I grew up and being a teenager and, being, I guess, a girl, like I ended up spending a lot of money until maybe to the age of 18 when I had to move out, and then I had to work for my own money, right? After I worked for my own money, I ended up understanding, oh gosh, $1 is really hard to make. So I didn't want to spend it on anything, buying clothes was a different, I had to stop. So I understood why my parents later on was a bit frugal, but otherwise, I think up to a certain age, I think my perspective of money changed when I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right. Yeah, that's the same book that I read.
Yeah,
right?
That changed my whole perspective, not just money, but life.
Right.
So ever since then, I just ended up, I changed my mindset about everything. And I had a bit more, I was a bit more patient with my parents then. Yeah.
I see. So you were mentioning that reading that book was a turning point for you, right? And so what were some of the principles that you kind of continuously adapt in your life and kind of change the way you deal with money? Were there any result of that,
well,
or
my parents
behaviors that changed?
never took risks. Never. Even till this, they don't take risks. I want to say compared to them, I'm pretty much a big risk taker. I want to say, and till this day, when I talk to them and I tell them what I invested in, whatever, they're always like, "This is too risky. That's too risky." We come from a very now different perspective of money. I take my risks. They don't, and they're always, and of course, taking risks. There's always consequences. Of course, there's times where I don't do great, and then they're like, "See, I told you so face can't comes." So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, do you feel like as we grow up, right, especially during our time, our parents actually don't really talk about money as a dinner table conversation, right?
No.
Yeah. The only thing we kind of know about them is that they work, they earn money, and they pay for our school or something.
I don't know. Do you think it's a taboo thing for them, or?
I think generally Asian culture, maybe not just Asian, right, but everywhere, money has not always been a comfortable conversation.
Yeah. Why do you think it is?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of personal image that's tied to it because the world is made in such a way where how much money you have equals to how successful you are, how capable you are, and stuff like that.
Right.
So to actually talk about it sometimes does touch certain nerves and touch certain parts of self-image.
I agree.
Yeah, and
I think coming from an Asian culture, in my family, I remember money equals happiness equals success, which nowadays I feel like how I teach my kids, I definitely don't imply that. So like, I remember my parents would pray for me, and what would they pray for? Okay, make a lot of money, make a lot of money. They buy, right? Make a lot of money, Nowadays, when I pray for my kids, it's like, I just hope they're happy, It's a very different wish upon, so my parents were just all about that.
Yeah.
As a parent for myself, I'm very different.
So you said you were brought up from a background just like myself where money is not really a common conversation, or maybe it's just a very single message, which is money equals to happiness. Right? Go out, study hard, make a lot of money, and then be happy, right? That kind of thing. But little do we know that actually money is just part of the equation of happiness, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So what are some of the things that you do now as a parent to actually discuss with your children about money? Do you guys have like dinner conversation where you guys talk about money, career, and stuff like that?
Career, yes. It's not, but it's not about, okay, what career do you want to go to? Choose a career that makes more money. Obviously, coming from an Asian background, you either can be a doctor, a lawyer, or what was the other one? I forgot. Engineer. Yeah. Those are the only three options you have. But nowadays, for my, our generation, I feel like we let our kids have an open mind about careers. It's not just about the money, because I don't know if on your end, I've seen a lot of people just not, they have a lot of money, but they're not exactly happy, right? So I didn't want to imply that for my kids. For my kids, I just wanted, again, happiness. I wanted, success is a very subjective, it's subjective. Everyone looks at it differently. For me, I just wanted them to find out themselves what being successful was.
Right. And so at what age do you start talking to your kids about money? How did you actually approach this topic? Do you recall any?
I don't recall. I mean, I guess because it's so natural for us. I mean, when they're young, up to when they can, as early as when they could talk, you start playing games with them. The supermarket, pretend you're at a supermarket, pretend you're at a restaurant, and then they start exchanging, Monopoly money, fake money, and then one of your videos, you had your son go to the grocery store, was it?
Yeah.
And then we naturally, I think, just do it without even knowing it, without even trying, right? So, but I think, the part where I think was a turnaround was when they need to work for their money.
Oh.
So my kids, I mean, like me, worked at a very young age. At 8, my parents made me work at their cafe. They owned a donut store, and I had to clean the tables, mop the floors, etc.
Wow.
And all for $1, $2, right? It was like child labor. But I didn't know that, but I wanted money. Why? Because I wanted to buy candy. So for example, my kids, it's almost more or less the same. They want something, they have to earn it. You don't just ask mom and dad for money.
Right.
like that quickly, you know. Yeah. So I actually don't really. Do you recall the first time you taught your kids?
I'm quite deliberate with the way that I teach my kids about money because
Okay.
I think one
you're
thing
Mr.
for
Money.
me is that, the content I make, right, Mr. Money, right? So I have to be deliberate about it. And I think it's very important to start the kid young and get them to understand about it.
I
So
agree.
one of the things that I did is I start giving them an allowance of 10 ringgit a week because he's been asking me to buy candy for him every morning before he gets into class. You know, he's like, Dad, the convenience store is there. I want to get candy, you know. Then I usually would just buy for him. Then this time around, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to stop buying for him. So I told him, I said, I give you $10. You choose what you want to buy. You want to buy toy, anything. If it's $6, then you're going to spend $6, right? If it's 10, you spend 10. If it's 20, then what happened is that you're just going to save another week to actually get it. Yeah. And to my surprise, maybe it's because he watched some of my videos and I talked to him about saving quite a bit. When he got the 10 ringgit, he told me he's not going to spend it. So he started
Clever
saving the
boy.
money. Yeah. And just last week, he actually bought candy for his brother as well because he decided to be generous.
No.
Yeah, so sweet, right?
So sweet.
And another thing that recently I'm trying to imply is when some of the videos, if I get him to act in it, then I pay him a salary.
Pay him. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Same with me. So if you didn't know, I've been a content creator for about 10 years now.
Yes.
And my kids, I'm pretty sure some of my followers, they still remember when my kids were really young. Little do they know I had to pay them to be in my videos. Pay them, you know. Some people are like, oh, that's child labor. But you know what? Not if they want that money. They
That's right.
want that money. So they'll be like, okay, what do you want me to do, you know? But yeah, I think... the 10 ringgit, just warning you, the 10 ringgit a week becomes 20, and becomes 30, and eventually 100 a week. And, you know, it goes up. So my kids, I do the same thing with my kids, except that now it's like 20 times more.
So let me ask you some advice, right? Since your kids are much older than mine.
Yeah.
And some of my friends have been telling me that if, let's say, you start paying them money to do certain tasks, right? They will start getting calculative with you eventually, and everything that they do, they ask, "Hey, can you pay me for that?"
That's so annoying.
Does that happen? Does it happen?
So annoying. It
really
happens.
happens.
And then you just almost want to say like, hey man, then you start paying for my aircon bill. You start paying for my electricity. Then it goes back and forth like that. And some days I'll get irritated about it, you know, when they get calculated with me. But, you know, it is what it is. There are times when we actually fight about it. Like, oh, you know, the other day I wasn't supposed to do the dishes. So because I did the dishes, I think I should, you know, get a little extra, you know, and they start negotiating. But that's part of life, isn't it? It's part of life where you negotiate too, you know, negotiation is part of it. Trying to know the value of yourself. So I let it, you know, it's honestly, it's very annoying, but you know, they learn through things like this. And
Right.
They learn. Yeah. But one thing is that when they hit a certain age, like, I have a daughter who's 15. I want her to start working. At the age of 15, I want her to start small jobs, you know, for friends.
Yeah, part-time, freelance work.
Little freelance jobs because they need to. Because I don't know. I mean, I worked at my parents' store since 8, and I wanted to get out. Like I was hungry to like earn money outside. Because I don't know, for some reason it felt more real, you know. So for my kids, I let them earn money outside. And then the more it's out of the household, and the more experience they get, the more they know, and I want to say it's a different sort of respect too that they have for you. Yeah.
So just to ask you, right, like there are some people right now, they will say that, hey, we need to be much more deliberate about teaching our kids about money, like myself, right? And they purposely create like fun games to let them learn about it, right? Versus like what you did, which was very natural. You just get them involved in part of your daily life and make them part of it. And there's a lot of negotiation that goes on. Like, have you ever tried the other method where like you bring out some fun games or like make it interesting? Have you tried any methods like that?
You know, like I said, you know, when they were younger, you play with them. You play with their toys along with it. You pretend you're at the grocery store. You pretend you're at the restaurant. You know, there are all those. You're talking about Monopoly and stuff.
So play like, hey, do you want to buy some candy?
Yeah, it's part of the whole playing process, right?
Right.
Kids learn through play.
Yes.
Right? It's that they don't learn through a piece of paper, and then
That's
you're like,
right.
okay, if Billy, bought ball for five ringgit, then how they learn through play.
That's
So
right.
you have to give them the fake money. Sometimes even drawing their own money, it makes them understand. Yeah.
Yes,
But
yes.
I want to say, I'll be honest with you. Nowadays it's a little bit tougher because we don't carry as much cash, so we have to, do the whole pay online and whatnot.
That's right.
So you kind of have to implement that a little bit.
That's
too.
right,
So
that's
they'll
right.
have their fake phones and be
Yeah.
like, beep, scan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So recently, that's one of the things that I've been thinking about, right? At first, I was thinking maybe I should just keep giving them cash, right? Then let them learn how to count, which is a starting step because I think they learn by touch as well. I did the same way as you,
Yeah.
playing some grocery games, stuff like that. But lately, I think it's unavoidable that we have to teach them the digital part of it. Yeah, so recently I started to open a bank account for my kid and start showing him the numbers and
Yes.
teaching him how to calculate. I'll see how it works out. Maybe next time showing him how to just scan the QR on his account or something like that.
I think having them have their own account is actually a very amazing thing because they get to see it, they get to feel it. I wouldn't. Some people might think, oh, they're growing up too fast, but it's a fast-paced world. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like as the moment you teach your children about the awareness of what they spend and stuff, they grow up valuing it. Now, one thing about money is what I wish my parents taught me was they taught me, okay, work hard, save, work hard, save, work hard, save. But then what after that? They never taught me investing. They never taught me what to do with the money after, how, to multiply it and things, So that for me, for my oldest children, I think for that is a bit of a challenge right now for me, because that's where I'm at. I'm trying to teach them, okay, now that you've worked hard and now that you've saved, what's next? What do you do with it?
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the part that it goes beyond just numbers, but rather the wisdom of applying that.
Then the whole Monopoly game becomes real.
That's right.
Buying a property. Now we got things like Airbnb, and the world is an oyster. So we just again, it's another thing was taking risks. That's what another thing I had to teach my kids was taking risks.
So is there any ways that you kind of educate your kids about taking the appropriate amount of risk? Because when it comes to risk, right, we also do not want to show them like, hey, you can just go crazy all the way and go super high and low, right? You want to teach them how to manage that risk. Is there anything they did to kind of implement that in their daily lives?
Honestly, like my 18-year-old, he learned through failure. I mean, it was tough to see as a mom when he would invest in something and then all of a sudden lose it. It was tough to see because it's like your own money. It's like you doing it, right? You investing in it. But that made him bounce so strong after. I don't feel like that's a tough question because of course you want to protect your child, but at the same time, I always think, well, I didn't have any protection. I had to learn it the hard way too. I had to take risks, lose it, gain it, whatever. Yeah. So I actually don't think there's a right, wrong,
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, right? So lately I've been reading some parenting books, and one of the things that came to my attention was by this guy called Daniel Amen.
Oh, yeah.
So he's American, right?
Yeah.
I think you probably heard of him. So he was saying that if you're coming from a more well-to-do background, I mean, most of us today are quite okay. Not to say we're very rich, but we're not suffering financially.
Right.
He said one of the things that you need to make sure is that you don't do too much for your kids.
Yes.
Right.
1000%.
Yeah. So how does that play out in
But that's why you have to watch your kids fail. That's why I'm saying that. Okay.
That's true.
So when my son wanted to invest in whatever he wanted to invest in, so he worked hard for it. He asked me for advice, and it's like the same thing. I mean, if I came to you and go, Mr. Money, do you think I should invest in this? You don't, you can tell me the risk reward, but you can't say
That's right.
the
I can't
answer.
control what you do, right?
So, and you can't control the market, things like this. It's the same with the kids. So then from there they learn through their own failures, just like us. Because I'm pretty sure you went through times where you had it, and you learned through that. So again, this generation also, our world moves so fast. Whatever works 20 years ago might not work the same the next 20 years, right?
We are learning as well,
Yeah,
right?
we're learning too. So it's really tough. If anything, I'm actually learning with my son. Yeah.
That's a nice
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And so you're mentioning that at one point you've probably seen fail and stuff like that, maybe through investment and whatnot. So what do you do as a mom? Do you go there and like, I told you so? Or
No.
do you sit with him, cry with him, or like what? How do you handle it?
I never do the I told you so, because technically I didn't tell him. I just said, it's up to you, right? I like us, like as adults, what happens when we lose? We just move on, right? We learn from the situation. We analyze what went wrong, what happened, what can we do to avoid it next time. We again, I'm learning with him, so we together will look through whatever it is. But again, he is very self-sufficient now. There was a part where, we did that together, but he just went on his own now. Now he doesn't even talk to me much about his failures. He just, it didn't go well. Anyways, moving on, so that he became very independent. Yeah.
Right.
Now, I remember the first time he made money, quick story, was that he was 12, 11, and he kept having money. Like, I was like, where is he getting this money from? So I kind of ignore it, but then eventually I just had to ask, because he was buying all sorts, buying T-shirts, buying shoes, and I was like,
12,
I'm
11.
pretty sure I'm not giving him this money. So what had happened was, all the Raya money, all the ang paos and stuff that he receives, he collects it. And then what happens is that at that time, Lazada and Shopee and stuff were just fresh. They were just new. Nobody really knew about them, but people knew about the service. So what had happened was he went to school selling whatever, like for example, if the kids wanted a T-shirt, he would buy the T-shirt, mark it up 30%.
Oh, wow.
And then sell it off to his classmates. Now, another thing I was thinking was, how did you get the money? How did you get the credit card for it? He goes, Mom, downstairs is 7-Eleven. You just go to the 7-Eleven, you get the, what was it? The cash.
The MOL, right? Yeah, the thing.
The voucher thing.
Yes,
and then,
the voucher thing.
And I was like, I didn't even know. So ever since a young age, he figured it out himself, how to do all this. Yeah. So that was and I remember the principal calling us in, because he got into trouble for doing that. And I went to the, got called in, and I was kind of like, I don't know whether he should get in trouble for this, because
So he got in trouble because he was selling things at school?
Yeah. He was marking it up, selling it in school, and I was like,
But shouldn't it be encouraged? Because like you're being entrepreneurial.
Yeah. But I guess, I don't know, the school policy, I guess. But
Yeah,
honestly, I remember he definitely didn't get in trouble by me. I was, if anything, really proud, but I had to be like, son, you can't do that anymore. But yeah, it's okay.
But I'm proud of you, right?
I'm so proud of you right now.
Let's find a way around this system right now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like, I guess another thing is, the bring your kids to work day. I think that plays a big role.
Oh.
I think that plays a big role, because when the kids watch you work, I mean, they, at a young age, you probably think they don't understand.
Yeah.
Even though they're waiting around, right? Like, for example, my kids used to come with me when I had classes, they'd wait outside.
Oh, so when he was before 12 years old, he used to hang out with you at your workplace?
Yeah, because I didn't, at that time, I didn't have help or anything. I just had to do I was a single mom. I had to do what I had to do, taught my classes, got out, and then continued on life. But the kids watch you work, quote unquote work. They watch you, and they have a different respect for you. They kind of go, okay, that's what work is like, even though they didn't really know. But I think when the kids watch the parents work, they kind of understand a bit more of how they have a bit more empathy, rather than just money coming in out of nowhere. Yeah.
So when you bring them to work, I'm sure that they ask you, right? My son actually asked me, what do you do for work, Papa? Right? Yeah, I'm sure they ask you the same thing. How do you make money? How do you earn money?
Yeah.
So how do you use to explain to them these kind of things?
So for example, the content work that I did, I used to get campaigns. I used to take the picture. At that time, there was no reels. Yeah. So I used to take a picture for Instagram for the product. They'd have to be in the picture. And then I pay them for it. And they kind of understood this is how it works. Every time I take a picture, in their minds, right? This is what they're thinking. Every time I take a picture, mom gives me money. That's cool. Like,
Mom, getting more pictures.
yeah. So it didn't some people were like, oh, what if the kids don't want to do it? I mean, there are times, I'll admit, there are days where they didn't want to take that picture. But most days they're like, okay, well, I know I'm getting money out of this. So I'm going to wipe my tears off and I'm going to suck it up and just smile for the camera, So that was, for me, those two things were bring your kids to work day. I think those are important things. I watched my parents work, right? I sat in the cafe. They told me what to do. I didn't know at that age what I was doing. But growing up, now you understand how hard your parents worked.
That's right.
You appreciate it. You have more empathy for your, for your parents, and you treat money, you value it more.
Yeah, I think there's this great thing about bringing your kids to work, right? Yeah, I strongly believe in that.
Yeah.
I always tell my wife, whenever you can, just send the kids over to the office. Yeah, they'll just hang around there, although they may be just watching TV or something like that.
Correct,
yeah,
but they know they're actually.
Yeah, at least they're watching you working. And yeah, for some of us, the work may be more simple, sitting down there.
Right.
For us, it's a lot of cameras. Yeah. And maybe you don't even need to go down and tell them like, hey, this is the logic of it.
Yeah,
but they'll just watch and
we forget
absorb,
that
right?
Kids are very observant people.
Yes.
You think that they might just be sitting there and watching their iPad, but you don't know that they're actually watching you.
Yes.
They're watching their mommy and daddy.
Yes.
See, and that's important. Like how you speak to other, your employees and stuff like that. They remember, they're sponges, so they pick up all of that. They pick up your attitude. They pick up everything from you. So I think that is part of the money making thing too. Yeah.
So as a result, you didn't even need to tell him like, this is how you're gonna make money, mark up 30% or anything.
Yeah.
He just naturally
because you
gets it, right?
Yeah, because you are the example. As parents, we are the example. We're not, we don't sit there and lecture them for things that we don't do ourselves. We have to be the prime example for them because, for everything, not just money, but also, if everything, how we, like I said, treat people, how we, everything. I forgot. What else? Life. I don't know. I mean, I think that everything that we spoke about was exactly what they said.
Yeah.
I find that it's harder implementing the whole thing.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, again, easier said than done. To be consistent about everything about that, I think the practice is a lot harder.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So being a dad myself now, I realized that how ignorant is it last time when I was still single and look at other people and say, you should have done that to your kids.
Correct.
Right?
And then we're like all judgmental, like, look at your kids, so spoiled.
Right. I would have done it, right? Now you realize that being a parent is not that easy. It takes a lot of tenacity to do those things.
And a lot of patience. And we remember that they're human beings, we're human beings, and we've made our mistakes.
Yeah.
And unless they experience it, we can't sit there and be like, I told you so.
That's right. Yeah.
It's quite already painful when you start seeing your kids like I said, earning the money is not really the test of it. It's what they do with the money after.
That's
if they invest, if they spend it, it's teaching them what to do with that money after they've saved it is the hard bit.
I think one part of it that kind of struck me just now was I realized that sometimes when we think about fun ways of teaching kids about money, actually kids make everything fun.
They do.
Yeah, you don't really have to purposely go out of the way, maybe sending them to camp or either pull out certain activities. Actually, just a simple game of Monopoly and just like yourself, bringing them to work. Over a dinner table, just talking about, hey, actually that dinner cost us $10, Yeah. Hey, so how next week's grocery, how much do we on budget? Yeah. Just simple conversation. They would have just soaked it up like sponge, right? And maybe getting they themselves to earn the money to buy their next meal or buy their own toys, giving them the duit raya, like what you said, right? Yeah, so that he saved it up and then hey, just do whatever you want with it.
Right. And I think also like you mentioned with your kids, how your son shares it with his brother. I think that's a wonderful thing too, is that we have to also teach them to be kind.
Yes.
With it, it's not just me, it's mine,
Yeah.
but to also share amongst, I'm sure you've heard before, like a lot of family feuds is about money,
that's true.
so it's not just about, okay, I'm earning my money and I'm going to keep it for myself.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, that's a big part of it too, is learning how to distribute
how to share and
charity and stuff.
how to be nice to people and stuff, right? Like what you say, ultimately earning money is not the main thing, but what do they do with the money,
Yes,
right?
correct.
And I digress a little bit, and this makes me also realize one thing about parenting, right? When we have kids, now my second child, right? He's 2 years old. I realize he's so different from his brother,
Yes.
right? And maybe the way that we taught the first one money, the second one could be a little bit different.
Yes, very much.
And you have a wealth of experience in that because you're 4, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can share with us a little bit about it, because I bet you have more tricks up your sleeve.
Tricks? I wouldn't say tricks. I would say, oh man, all my energy went towards the first one, and I do find that all my others are just like, huh, money, what, And then at one point I was like, oh no, what have I done? And I'll be honest, right? I think the boys are a lot smarter with money than my girls, because my girls are like, let's just spend, and my boys are a bit more like, they have a strategy when it comes to it. But definitely, I wouldn't have a trick. I wouldn't even have a hack for that. It's just that I was more aware that, I focused a lot on my eldest, but my eldest did teach the rest of them about money. Yeah.
Right.
But again, you make it fun. Like you said, kids make everything fun. We don't have to make it so gung-ho.
Go all the way. Come up with some extra
A
syllabus,
workshop,
right?
They're at school all day long. They don't, I don't know if wanting to go to another school about money would be a thing. I think if anything, they need to learn it from their parents. Yeah.
So now talking about the next leg of a journey, right?
Yeah.
Which is, like what you say, earning money is the first part, but how do they really make use of the money to, in a way, buy themselves happiness, right? And we know that sometimes it's not really about accumulating a lot of money, but rather finding the meaning of life, the purpose of life, things that goes beyond money.
Yeah.
So what are some of the strategies moving ahead that you have in your mind? Like, hey, I'm going to try to influence my child in this way, or trying to help him to understand joy, beyond money.
I mean, my parents, again, they taught me to work hard, save. They never taught me how to enjoy the money. See, which made me go, oh, is this life really? I'll myself over time learn the way that, everyone has a different way of enjoying their way they enjoy their money. I love going on holidays, going, splurging on, nice hotels, and wherever the destination is makes me happy. Some don't want to do that. They want to buy a fancy car. Go, there's no right or wrong. It's just that you want to take it easy. Just enjoy the path along the way, Again, when I tell my kids to take a risk and they lose it, it's just part of life, isn't it? It's not something that they should be punished for, because it's punishment enough that we lost, whatever we've earned. But to sit there and lecture your kids about, I told you so, is too much, because I'm about team building. I'm about, working together as a team. So if my child's in trouble, I'm there to help, and I would like it vice versa. When we're older, we want our kids to help us when it comes to things, So, yeah.
So do you see any reflection of yourself in your eldest child so far?
I do, because he does take care of his siblings, and I'm so proud of him for that. When he has a big earning, he doesn't go, oh yeah, I earned so and so much. He goes, I'm gonna buy everyone a gift.
Wow.
Like the other day, he bought his sister. I was quite touched. He bought his sister headphones that she's always wanted, And I was touched by it, because again, it's what you do with the money. It doesn't have to. You don't have to spend it on like material things, But you enjoy it. You enjoy the journey.
Right.
They always say, enjoy the journey. And I think some people are like, how do I enjoy working? You have to find something you enjoy. Yeah.
Speaking to you makes me realize one thing that's very important.
Yeah.
Sometimes the overall education of a child's journey in growing up and the money part, it's more about how you yourself do it personally and being genuine about it with your kids and communicate the genuineness. And they see it, they'll just replicate, right? Maybe not 100%, but there will be that 60% likeness at least. Like he's into other forms of interest right now.
Definitely.
But there's that base there, right?
Yeah, there's the base there. And, we don't know it yet too, but when we have our kids, when we have kids, we learn a lot from them. Don't forget that. We learn a lot of how they're very generous. I mean, I think some of us grow up and we forget the joy of of life, and then we start getting greedy about things, and then we start wanting more. Want to earn more money, earn more, and then we forget. Oh my God, my family was sitting here waiting for us to spend time with them, right? Things like this, right? So yeah.
All right, so I had a really enjoyable time, speaking to you, and I myself learned a lot as a parent.
Awesome.
Right? Yeah, because like I said, I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old right now, and I really look forward that one day when they grow up, I can say the exact same thing like you. I see the reflection of myself in them, and it's the kind that's proud, right? Not the kind, you learn all the bad things about me, but rather the good things. And I think that's something very admirable.
And it's the joy of having kids is just that reflection, and then the pride of, wow, that's my son or my daughter that earned and worked hard. Again, it's not about they're doctors or they're lawyers. It's about, wow, they've earned some money. They're really happy with it, and they enjoy it. Yeah, that's the joy of having kids.
All right. Thank you very much, Sue. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned. If you have any thoughts about fun ways of teaching kids about money, share with us in the comments below.
I want to know.